Yeah, you're stupid, Izzy. You're really stupid.
Is that what you want to think?
Yes, that's what I think. That's what you say. Stupid things. You're stupid.
Yeah, and if you want to think I'm stupid, I can't stop you. My most common criticism was I'm blaming victims. I don't blame victims. I empower victims to solve their problem.
I can think that you are stupid.
Be my guest. If you're my client and you complain to me that so-and-so's make you miserable, my job is not to go talk to them and make them change. I have to teach you what to do. I don't teach people to be mean, I teach people to be nice. In fact, I teach people to be nice to their bully. You shouldn't do it to other people. It's stupid and bad to do it to other people. But what do you do when they do it to you?
You're really stupid, Izzy.
Well, I happen to think you're smart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bonjour à tous, j'espère que vous allez bien. Je suis très heureux de vous présenter cette interview d'Izzy Kalman. Alors ceux qui suivent mon travail sur le harcèlement savent probablement qui est Izzy Kalman. C'est ce psychologue scolaire américain qui a été la principale source d'inspiration de ce qui est devenu en France le jeu de l'idiot, de toutes ces choses qu'on a traduit, augmenté, réorganisé pour ce travail autour du harcèlement. Et c'est quelqu'un qui travaille avec ces méthodes-là autour du jeu de rôle, autour de la règle d'or et toutes ces dynamiques autour du harcèlement, qui sont un petit peu atypiques par rapport aux approches habituelles. Mais lui, c'est quelque chose qu'il fait depuis les années 70 et sur lequel il a écrit et enseigné depuis les années 2000. La rencontre était presque inopinée, en tout cas, elle n'a pas été prévue très longtemps à l'avance. Izzy Kalman a déménagé en Israël depuis sa retraite et donc on s'est croisés à Tel Aviv dans un immense hall de centre commercial où on s'est assis pour boire un café et discuter de tout ça. Alors comme il y a beaucoup de gens qui ont déjà entendu son nom, qui connaissent déjà un petit peu ce travail, je ne me suis pas contenté de lui poser des questions de base pour savoir comment ça fonctionnait. J'ai voulu savoir un petit peu des choses personnelles, ce que ça lui avait amené, la manière dont lui, il y était venu. Et vous allez voir qu'il y est venu par des choses empiriques, par de la pratique de terrain, mais aussi de façon presque intuitive, instinctive, avant, dans un second temps, d'ordonner un petit peu ses idées, notamment autour du fait qu'il a dû les organiser pour les enseigner. Donc ça me parle beaucoup parce que je sais qu'en enseignant, souvent on est contraint de rendre les choses didactiques, de les simplifier, de les clarifier et parfois de les compléter. Donc ça c'était très intéressant. Et puis aussi vous le verrez, quelques questions autour des critiques qu'on peut recevoir autour de cette méthode, quelques questions sur son parcours. J'ai pris beaucoup de plaisir moi à enfin rencontrer pour de vrai Izzy Kalman parce que c'est quelqu'un avec qui j'ai beaucoup échangé. Je me suis beaucoup formé auprès de lui à distance. On a beaucoup échangé par mail, par Zoom, par tout ce qu'on veut. Mais là, on s'est enfin vu en réel, en 3D. Et vraiment, c'est une belle rencontre. Et j'espère que l'interview vous intéressera. Donc je l'ai sous-titré. Et n'hésitez pas à cliquer sur les sous-titres pour pouvoir les avoir. Et puis, n'hésitez pas à faire des commentaires sous la vidéo pour qu'on en discute, qu'on en débatte. Et vous verrez évidemment aussi que par moment, pour m'expliquer certaines choses, il n'a pas pu résister à me faire jouer avec lui. C'est un des grands avantages de ces méthodes qu'on utilise, c'est que ça a quelque chose de ludique malgré la gravité du sujet. Voilà, donc je vous souhaite une très bonne vidéo et n'hésitez pas à commenter.
So Izzy, thank you. I'm really happy to meet you in person, to talk to you here in Tel Aviv.
I'm also happy, yes.
It was not expected, and that's a great chance to talk to you. For the people who don't know, you've been the essential inspiration for my book about bullying in schools and all the works that we've done with other health professionals and all the trainings and the teachings that we have about it. I've trained like 300 health professionals.
Individually, or you did classes with them?
No, in classes.
Yeah.
Like 300 health professionals essentially, and some educational professionals, teachers. And they've been working with kids in their practice. And so I think they will be more than happy to hear you. So questions won't be just how does it work, because a lot of people who are watching us, they know how it works. They play the role play, the game with freedom of speech and golden rule. Some wanted to know what was your inspiration. You always say that these are old ideas, that you didn't invent everything. Maybe you reorganize it, but it comes from before. So what was your inspiration? Was it psychological, philosophical, religious, or what was it?
I'll give you a little bit of background. First of all, my parents were Holocaust survivors, and they couldn't stand each other. You know, a lot of couples got married after the war in displaced persons camps, and you know, they were desperate to start life anew and make a new family. And some people got married, and they weren't good matches. And my parents were one such couple, and they would fight all the time. They were angry. My father wouldn't talk to my mother for weeks at a time, and all of their friends and relatives would take turns being amateur psychologists, trying to get to the root of their problems so they'll finally get along, but nothing worked. So I think deep down I had a desire to figure out how to help people get along better. I started college as an electrical engineering major. But after a couple of years, I felt this is not really for me. But I happened to take a psychology course, introductory psychology, and I loved it. It was so much fun. It was so much easier than engineering. You express yourself well, you get A's. It was so much easier. And I also, by chance, ended up being in therapy at the same time. And here I am going to talk to somebody who's listening, and he gets paid for just listening. And I was a good listener, so I figured this is a good field for me. So I went into psychology. I got a master's degree in clinical psychology, and then I moved to Israel after I got the degree because I wanted to move here. And a friend of mine, a psychologist, suggested I look into working in schools. So I did, and they needed psychologists in schools, and it sounded like a good place to work, and it really was. And I quickly discovered that the number one complaint of kids is that other kids are picking on them, calling them names, you know, pushing them around. And I knew why somebody becomes a victim of bullying. You know, I grew up on the slogan, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me," which really expresses if you get upset by words, they keep on picking on you. That's why they do. You're getting upset by words. And the sticks and stones slogan was a solution to being picked on by words. You tell yourself, sticks and stones can hurt me, but words, they can't hurt me. But it was clear that people become victims because they're getting upset. And if you don't get upset, they stop picking on you. So I would use role playing to teach the kids why they're being picked on and how to make it stop. And I had very nice success. I also saw how teachers, when they would get in the middle of kids' problems, he called me that, he said that to me, and the teachers get in the middle, it escalates because everybody wants the teacher on their side. And whichever way the teacher decides, you know, this one's right, that one, you know, that one's wrong, the two kids are still mad at each other. The one who the teacher was against is mad at the teacher too, and wants to get back at the kid, and only makes it worse, and the problems never end. They will always say, she said this to me, said that to me. And the teachers are spending all of their time trying to make the kids stop fighting, and they don't realize they're making them fight. So I would teach teachers how to answer in a way so that it would stop the fight instead of make it go on and get worse.
And then you went back to USA.
In 1988, I moved with my wife and our first two kids to the States, and I continued working in schools, and I was developing my method and using it, you know, with a lot of success. In 1999, there was an event that shocked the world and changed education, and that was the Columbine massacre of April 20th, Hitler's birthday, 1999. And this massacre, should I go into details about it, or everybody knows about Columbine?
I think they know, but if there are things that are important to you, you can tell.
These two high school students decided they're going to destroy the school. They put bombs in the school that fortunately didn't go off, but they came with guns and they killed 12 students and a teacher, and they injured 24, and they ended up dying at the end also. But before they did this, they made videos explaining why they're going to do this. And they said, because the kids are picking on us and treating us like garbage, this is why we're going to do this. And even before Columbine, there was a series of school shootings, and researchers found that almost all of these kids shooting up their schools are victims of bullying. And I can understand why that happens. If you're being picked on all the time, you're angry, you want revenge. It was also known for even longer that many kids who commit suicide do it because they're victims of bullying. So they take their own lives. So I knew I know how to help with this problem. I have a mission here. I have a way to help kids who are picked on. And I started teaching more and speaking about it, and people liked what I had to say. But something happened that I really didn't expect. There was a field of psychology that I had not been familiar with before. I never heard of it. It was the field of bullying psychology. And they came up saying, we have the solution to bullying. And when I saw what they're proposing, I saw that this can't possibly work. They're taking everything that makes the problem worse and they're presenting it as the right thing to do. They're teaching kids how horribly painful words are. Words can kill you, words can make you suffer forever. They're teaching kids that you have to go tell the teachers. That makes it worse. It makes you a snitch. If you do the same thing at home with your own children, if you tell them to come to you when they bother each other, they never stop fighting. And they're fighting over the parents. Everybody wants the parents on their side. So now kids are being told they have to get the school involved, and the school has to play judge to decide who the bully is, who the victim is. It makes it worse. So I realized I have a bigger mission here. So I began writing about it, and I fortunately was able to get involved with a seminar company in the United States that provides full-day seminars for mental health professionals. So they liked what I had to offer, and the people, we tried it out, and people liked what I was teaching. So I ended up doing this for 12 years. I traveled all over the United States. I trained about 50,000. I can't really say that I trained them all, because not everybody who comes to a seminar actually ends up doing what they learn. But I had about 50,000 people coming to my seminars over 12 years. I was being invited to conferences to talk about bullying. I wrote books, I made videos and stuff. I got really involved. And here I am 25 years later, and bullying is still a problem, because what the world is doing is the approach that doesn't work. And the approach that doesn't work has been mandated by law. In places that have anti-bullying laws, the schools have to do the things that make it worse.
What you say reminds me that we try to talk about with me and my colleagues, and there is the same thing. More and more people are interested, and they listen to us, and some professionals in the school say, oh, that part was missing. We have a lot of knowledge about the context of bullying, what it does, how it works, but one part was missing is what the victim can do. And it's the only way, except counterattack, but it's the only thing a victim can do without being a bully and without telling adults, and the victim can do something. So it's logical, it works, and some professionals said, wow, that was the part that was missing. Thank you for bringing it to us. But there is some resistance. Some people say, wow, we don't want it, and they have objections like your method is leaving the kids alone and abandoned, and we want to protect the kids, and you want to abandon the kids.
I got violent threats because of what I was saying and writing.
Okay, in the schools? I mean, from not the professionals?
Online. Yeah, I mean, nobody came up to me and said, I'm going to kill you if you continue teaching this.
But online you had
And even in comments to my Psychology Today blog, I've been writing a blog for Psychology Today for 15, 16 years, and I got these horrible comments sometimes, threats even.
How did the school professionals welcome your ideas? I mean...
Schools love it.
Yeah? Some people didn't resist a bit?
Well, when
you were teaching to teachers, to principals, they didn't say, hey...
At my seminars, mostly it was mental health professionals. A small percentage was principals and teachers. I think I got more resistance from mental health professionals, because they were learning a different approach. And also, over the years, you were talking about it to me before, earlier, about the victim mentality, how you have to take the side of the victim. Everything is about believing victims. And psychology over the years has become more and more about protecting victims instead of teaching people how to deal with the difficulties of life. When I studied psychotherapy, I learned that our job is to help people solve their problems, not to protect them from problems. If you're my client and you complain to me that so-and-so's make you miserable, my job is not to go talk to them and make them change. I have to teach you what to do.
And your job is not also to say only you are right and I confirm you in your thinking. I mean, a therapist is supposed to challenge your thinking.
Yeah.
So what do you really think about it? So that's why it's the nowadays problem. You say to have to confirm you, to affirm your thinking instead of challenging
exactly.
it.
In the bullying psychology, when you deal with a victim of bullying, what you're supposed to do is comfort them. The problem has nothing to do with you. Don't think it has anything to do with you. It's only because of the other person. This is teaching people to blame others for their problems. I learned that in order to solve your problems, you have to take responsibility for them. And you have to develop an internal locus of control. I'm in control. The bullying psychology does the opposite. You're not in control. You have no control. It's because of them. They're teaching them you can't solve the problem by yourself. Everybody has to solve the problem for you. So, this is the opposite of what you study in psychotherapy.
And what would you say to the critics that would say, if you are saying this, then you tell the kids who are already victim and feel miserable, you say it's your fault.
But I don't say that.
No, but I know that you don't say that, but some critics could say that to us and say, hey, you're blaming the victims.
Exactly.
So what do you say about it?
My most common criticism was I'm blaming victims. I don't blame victims, I empower victims to solve their problem.
And what do you say to the people who say what I say before, you let the kids alone?
I don't leave them alone. I teach them how to solve their problems.
Yeah, that's what I say. And
by the way, leaving them alone is better than doing things that make the problem worse.
Okay, that's interesting. And what do you say?
You have to realize the problem of bullying has grown ever since the anti-bullying psychology has become used all over the place. It's become a bigger problem. It was a smaller problem before. It was always a problem, but it's become a bigger one because what they're doing.
But we were not calling bullying. If we were insulted, we called it insulting. If we were mocked, we called it mocking. But we didn't have an umbrella term for everything.
Exactly. In fact, I didn't realize till early in 2000 that I'm an expert in bullying because I never called this bullying. It's being picked on. You're being picked on. You're being called names. When I grew up, bullying was, give me your lunch money or I'm going to beat you up after school, or I beat you up just for the fun of it. But most bullying, what's being called bullying, is insults. Name calling, rumors, I heard this about you, or social exclusion, you can't come to my party, you can't sit at my table. But I discovered this is being called bullying.
And some people would say, I challenge you with some critics we often hear, just to laugh a little bit. Now, so do you teach that? Do you teach kids that it's perfectly okay to insult or laugh at people? Okay, that's okay. You can tell lies, you can insult, you can laugh. Because sometimes people seems to hear that. Because our method is based on, if you want to think that I'm ugly, if you want to think that my mother is, I don't know what, you can think that. And some people say, so you're telling the kids it's okay to insult? It's okay to mock? It's okay to lie?
They think that because I'm teaching kids that you have to take the attitude that it's perfectly okay if people insult you, then it's perfectly okay if you insult people. I don't teach people to be mean, I teach people to be nice. In fact, I teach people to be nice to their bullies. I teach everybody to be nicer, not to treat people worse. I don't tell people go insulting people. That's a terrible way to have relationships.
I think so.
Yeah.
I sometimes I say that I told my kids not to lie. It's not a good way to make things go better in your life to lie. But some people will lie. It's inevitable.
Yeah. You shouldn't do this to other people, But the problem is, what do you do when they do it to you? Because it's going to happen. And because all of the time we were learning that we shouldn't be mean to anybody, it's terrible to be mean, it can hurt them forever. Well, what happens when somebody is mean to us? They're bullying me, this is terrible, they can destroy my life, they can lead me to suicide. So we're teaching kids to get more upset by insults instead of getting less upset. And then we wonder why it's becoming a worse problem.
That's always the hardest part. Some people say, but we should be upset by racism, we should be upset by insulting, we should be upset by free hate. We should be. Yeah. And in fact, if we say that, we weaken the kids, but it's hard to understand because it's not morally acceptable to mock people, to laugh at people, to be racist. It's not morally good. Yeah,
you shouldn't do it to other people. It's stupid and bad to do it to other people. But what do you do when they do it to you? And very often when people are mean to us, they're not even doing it intentionally. They don't know how much it's hurting us. They do or say something and we get very upset by it. But they're not necessarily trying to hurt us. Mm-hmm. But we get upset. But then we get upset with them. Well, if we're upset with them, we're not being nice to them. So we're angry at them. They're not going to be nice back to us.
That's always also a hard part, because when you say, then what do you do if they do it to you? That implies that some people will. And I think the anti-bullying movement hopes that someday there will be a world where people won't be mean at each other. Yeah. But you imply that, yes, it will happen. It might happen. I can't promise you that you live in a world where it won't happen. And that's really a game changer. Because when we talk about when we talk with anti-bullying experts, they say we shouldn't do that, and we want school where nobody does it,
and they can't accomplish it.
Yes, and we tell kids it will happen. So what will you do?
Look at the internet. Look what adults write. Look at the television. What people say about each other. They put other people down all the time. They put Trump down. They put Biden down. People love to insult. Adults do it all of the time, but we expect kids to only be nice to each other.
And so if we tell kids to say, okay, you can think I'm stupid, that's okay. I'm sorry if I bother you. As some bully may interpret this like a weakness, no?
They might, but they'll keep it up and they'll see, I'm not winning here, I'm losing here.
Even against a weak person who say, okay, I'm stupid.
I don't really teach kids to say, okay, I'm stupid.
Okay.
There are many ways to answer an insult in a friendly way. So if you call me stupid, I'm not going to say I'm stupid, but I might say, I do stupid things every day. How about you? Do you ever do anything stupid?
Yeah, I could say, well, you always do stupid things. You're stupid.
I do dumb things every day. Do you ever do anything dumb?
No, not like you.
Wow.
You're
I might do more dumb things than you.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
Or another way to answer is, call me stupid.
Yeah, you're stupid, Izzy. You're really stupid.
Is that what you want to think?
Yes, that's what I think. That's what you say. Stupid things. You're stupid.
Yeah. If you want to think I'm stupid, I can't stop you.
Yeah, I can think that you're stupid.
Be my guest. Or my favorite way is actually the opposite compliment.
Yeah.
You tell me I'm stupid.
You're really stupid, Izzy.
Well, I happen to think you're smart.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's the natural answer. Thank you. But now you like me because I complimented you.
That's not the easiest one, the compliment, because some people could say that you're joking.
Yeah.
Oh, you're smart.
No,
you're beautiful.
No. You can't say it sarcastically.
Yeah.
You have to say it genuinely. If it's sarcastic, it's an insult. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, you answer the other critics. Some people said bullies love to harass people, and so if you let them, if you say, be my guest, then it's an open door. They will do it all day long.
That's the fear.
Yeah.
But I show them that the fear is not founded in reality.
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's counterintuitive. I mean, the anti-bullying movement promotes things that are intuitive. I mean, if I can do anything, you insult me, and what do I want to do? I want to tell you stop, or I want to get help, or I want to ignore you, and those things doesn't work.
Or to defend yourself.
Or to defend myself, I say no, that's you, and that's intuitive. So what you promote, it's not intuitive. It's really difficult
It's counterintuitive. Yeah.
It's really difficult to come up with. You have to teach people that.
You have to teach it, but it's not really so hard to teach. You know, so many adults think that children can't learn this. Most of what they learn in school is much more difficult than this. Learning to read is much more difficult. It takes months and years to learn how to read. To write, to do math is more difficult. To do algebra. These things take a lot of time, but learning to not get upset and to answer with a compliment, or to answer if you want to think that you can, it takes a few minutes. But kids aren't taught this.
So I come back to the first question. Okay, you have to teach this because it's not intuitive, so you have to learn it. So where did you learn that? I mean, once I told you it reminds me of the Palo Alto school when the attempts of solution make the problem bigger, and you said, well, at the time people talk about Palo Alto, but I don't think it was.
Remind me what you're talking about. The
Palo Alto, the systemic approach. The Mental Research Institute in Palo Alto, and those researchers come to the fact that when you some attempts of solution are worse than the problem. For example, drinking is an attempt of solution, but make the problem worse. OCD is an attempt of solution to anxiety, but it makes the problem worse. And so I thought I could recognize that in your method, because what we try to do make the problem worse. But there are maybe other inspirations.
I learned, I studied psychology specifically because I wanted to be a therapist. My concern was in teaching people to solve their problems, not so much in research. It was helping people. And I learned when I was going to graduate school, family therapy was in its heyday, very big, and it taught a lot of good stuff. One of the things I learned is if you're doing something to try to solve a problem and it's not working, it's probably making the problem worse. What you're doing to try to solve the problem is what makes the problem keep on going. So there's nothing new in this. This is basic.
And was Ellis an inspiration of the rational emotional therapy? I mean, Ellis was saying things like that. If you can change your thinking and it will change your emotion. And it was counterintuitive too, because it seems like our emotions come by themselves. We can't control our emotions. And Ellis was saying, well, you can change your beliefs, and then it will change your emotions. So,
because if I think that it's terrible to be insulted, nobody has a right to insult me. Well, all you have to do to upset me is to insult me. The truth is, there is no such thing as a right not to be insulted. It doesn't exist. You can't stop everybody from insulting you. It's going to happen. There is no right. A right ultimately is something guaranteed by a government. If there's no guarantee, you don't have that right. If you have a right, we have a right to a free public education because the government guarantees it. The government can't guarantee that nobody's going to insult you, and if they try to stop people from insulting you, it gets worse. What are you talking about? He started with me. I didn't insult him. It becomes a big fight when the government gets involved between our what we say to each other.
So you would say that when you come up with this method, it just came naturally.
It was a hobby. I grew up, somehow we knew why you would get picked on all the time. Because you get upset. That's the meaning of the sticks and stones slogan. It teaches us not to get upset by words. If you hit me with sticks and stones, that's going to hurt me. But the
words, and all you have from your empiric observations with the kids, with the patients, it confirms all that every time.
Yeah, and I started teaching it to kids, and it worked nicely. You know, I can demonstrate every single time that in a role play, I can demonstrate in a role play that if you insult me and I don't try to stop you, you're going to stop. If I try to stop you, you're going to do it even more. But that's why somebody becomes a victim. They're trying to stop the victimization, and they don't realize they're making the victimization continue and escalate. So I show through role playing how easy it works.
And did the method evolve with time?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, of course.
Because there is two steps. On the first step we play the victim, on the second step we answer with the golden rule, but all this came with time, or it was already ready when Columbine occurs?
No, when Columbine occurred, my method was really quite simple, and I was really teaching to ignore, totally ignore. But that evolved for two reasons. One is that if you're insulting me and I completely ignore you, it's not really nice to ignore. Nice. You're talking to me, I'm ignoring you. And secondly, if I ignore you, you might think that it bothers me because I'm ignoring you. So I developed more sophisticated methods of answering, but I also developed a whole framework because I realized at one point that if you're a victim, you're treating your bullies or like an enemy. I can't get you to treat me like a friend if I treat you like an enemy. But we treat people like enemies without even realizing it, because nobody explained to us what it means to treat somebody like an enemy. So I started formulating the ways by which we treat people like enemies. And I made, 8 rules for
So all this framework happened more in when you try to teach it or to write about it. You had to get your ideas organized, and there was the method with the 2 steps and everything.
Yeah, and especially when I began giving all-day seminars, and I'm spending 6 hours a day. I have to fill it with content. And also at the same time, I decided to write, a book about this. So I thought about it more deeply, and so I came up with these 8 rules for treating people like friends rather than enemies. I also came up with 7 dichotomies for understanding bullying and how to deal with it. I came out with much more material. I ended up having a seminar manual that was about 200 pages, full of content.
Okay. 2 or 3 other questions. There's no method that works 100% of time.
Nothing works. Very few things.
Sometimes it doesn't work, and it's a question that often occurs among professionals who are trained. Which are the parameters that make it easier or worse? I mean, some kids, they understand like in a second. We just one sentence, and wow! I remember a kid when I told him only in the second part of the game. He said, "You're you're an asshole, you're an idiot." I said, "Oh, you think?" And then the kid said, "Wow, that's great! I understand." And he all understand it in one sentence.
Yeah.
And some kids few sessions to they're really hurt, and they say, I couldn't do that. They don't understand. They seem to say it doesn't work. Have you an idea of which kind of kids seems to be easier to teach? Or
but the kids who are easiest to teach are, first of all, kids who don't have really deep psychological problems. They're fairly normal. Also, they're around average intelligence or more. They don't have any serious learning disabilities. They don't have serious impulse control problems. Like kids with ADHD can have more trouble doing this because they just can't control themselves. So they're triggered like that, even though they might understand what I teach, they just can't control themselves. Kids who have very low IQs may not understand this. And it's not that the method doesn't work, it's just that not everybody can do it. Also, I've often found that kids who have been serious victims for a long time by everybody, like if everybody in their class is always picking on them, nobody wants to be their friend, everybody is putting them down all the time. For kids like that, who it's been going on for a long time, I found that even if they try to do what I teach them, it doesn't work, because the kids are so used to putting them down and having them as the scapegoat that even when the kids do what I teach, things don't change. So in such a situation, I recommend that they go to a different school.
We thought that also the whole system, now that the anti-bullying laws are
The what?
the anti-bullying laws are in front of the scene.
Anti-bullying laws.
Maybe all the system, the parent, school, teacher, everybody system, government, everyone, that might play a role. It's hard when you come to a kid and there's already, they went to the police, they wrote letters, everything is involved. It's harder, it gets harder for the kid to learn.
Many years ago I worked with a 14-year-old freshman in high school from Canada. I worked with him by phone, and he did a very good job initially. I mean, things got better right away. But what had happened, the school, because there had been a complaint before, the school got the police involved. After I started working with him, once the police got involved, all hell broke loose. The passions between the kids went up so high. My client went and got a gun, and he was caught. You know, he didn't use it, but he had one at home. I couldn't make it better at that point. Once the police get involved, it just explodes. Imagine we're kids, I get the police involved against you, you're going to be nice to me. You want to kill me now.
Yeah. No, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that it starts with really small, in our eyes of adults, but with small insults. It's not always physical violence.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, a kid took his own life in France because of bullying. It seems that the insults were like, you're ugly, nobody loves you. You're ugly, nobody loves you. I'm going to screw your mother. And and of course the school was involved, and the parents said the school did nothing, and it was bullying last school year. And just a few days after the beginning of the school of this year, he took his own life. I think he came back and saw that the bullies were still there, and the adults couldn't help him.
He got the school involved.
Yeah, he
Because
got
this
the
is-
school involved, and the parents said, "We will sue you because you're not protecting our kids." And the school answered, "It's a scandal.
We have no tolerance for bullying.
We do a lot against bullying. We wrote letters. We had the bullies in our office, and we did this and that and this and that. And you cannot say that. It's defamation against us." So it was mutual threat of suing each other, parents and school. So it took big proportions. But the poor kid was here, and he couldn't bear the insults, and he took his own life. It's terrible.
Yeah, because the kids are being told that if they're being bullied, they have to tell the school, and the school will solve the problem. So they tell the school, and they expect it to get better, but now the school gets involved interrogating, did you do this, why did you do it? And the other kids start hating him. Now he's a snitch, and it gets worse and worse. And the kid feels he was betrayed. I told the school I did what I was supposed to, and the problem gets worse, and they don't know what to do anymore, and they take their own lives.
I mean, you say that we can convince ourselves that we will not be hurt by insults, and it's not so easy. But I mean, worse is the ability of the kids to be absolutely destroyed when the adult cannot help them, promise they will help them, and betray them. I mean, all the people, when they hear a case like the one I told you, they say, you see, word hurts. You say that you can teach kids how not to be hurt, but you see, word hurts. I say, okay, word hurts, but betrayal hurts a lot more. It means like the adults cannot protect me, so I'm alone, and I don't have any power on the situation. And what did kill these poor kids? Betrayal. they really hope that the adults will help them, and they did not.
That's
worse than words.
The school tried, but what they do makes it worse.
Yeah, and that's the worst part. Maybe it's worse than insults.
Okay, this is something I often ask at my seminars. What would you rather have me do to you? Call you an idiot once, or get you in trouble with the school? What would you rather have me do to you?
Yeah, people choose the insults.
Insult. I'll give you another choice. I'll call you an idiot 100 times, or I'm going to get you in trouble with the school. What would you rather have me do to you?
They choose the insults?
Yeah, so just about the worst thing that kids can do to each other is to inform on them to the authorities. Nobody likes to be informed on. It's much worse to inform on somebody than to insult them. So it's not moral to tell people when...
Does social media evolves our system of subjective and objective harm? I mean, it's not so easy to see what is objective harm on the social media, on the internet. I mean, for example, doxing, revealing your address, threatening your address on your maybe objective harm, but it's not so easy. In the real life, it's easy. If you hurt me, if you touch me without my consent, okay, it's objective harm. And if that's only my feelings that I hurt, it's subjective harm.
Right.
But on the social media, does it change something?
It can. The question is whether the thing that's done does real harm to my life. Let's say you write stuff in social media, and because of this I end up getting fired. That's objective harm. You got me fired from my job. Or if we're kids and you write this stuff about me and somehow it gets to the school and the school believes this and kicks me out of school, that's objective harm. But if all it does is hurt my feelings, that doesn't cause objective harm.
So it's the consequence,
my life.
Not the words, not what I say or write or anything, but the consequences.
Exactly.
Okay.
If the consequences truly hurt my life in an objective way, I lose money because of it, I lose my job, or let's say you spread rumors about me and my wife leaves me. You destroyed my family. That's not hurting my feelings.
Okay. So now about your beliefs, would you say that you're a free speech absolutist?
No.
So what are the limits of free speech for you?
I did not invent the limits of free speech. They're well known by people who understand what free speech is about. Free speech permits speech that can hurt people's feelings, but it doesn't permit speech that can cause objective harm to people's bodies or property. The classic example is yelling fire in a crowded theater. Because if I yell fire in a crowded theater, it's going to cause a stampede. People are going to get trampled. People are going to get injured, maybe even die because of it. So you can't do something like that. I can't make up lies about you and get you fired from your job.
Copyright is also a limit of free speech. If I take your...
well, that's theft. You're not allowed to steal my...
Because it's subjective. It can make you lose money.
Yeah.
Okay. And
or
so
not just
defamation.
Money, not just money. This is my reputation. I created this body of work, and you take it and you attribute it to yourself. This is my life's work. I want the credit for my life's work, and you're taking credit for my life's work. I went through all of my life to develop this, and now you just take it and you said, I developed this. This is very hurtful.
So defamation also, because it can ruin my reputation?
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of debate in France. You remember the Charlie Hebdo case?
Yes, very well. I wrote about it.
And some people talked a lot about making caricatures of religion, which is criticizing an idea. Seems to be free speech. I can't criticize your idea, your philosophy. Is it the same thing, for example, as making caricature of the Holocaust? Is it free speech? And there was a lot of debate in France. Where are the limits, in fact?
You're not required to publish everything that somebody would like to have published. If I'm a publisher of a magazine, I don't have to print everything that people send to me.
Yeah.
I can choose what to print. I can decide this is not appropriate to print. I'm not required. You're allowed to say these things, but I don't have to print them in my magazine.
The limit that we had, will it cause harm? For example, if I don't know if a rape apologist or a murder apologist write, some people will say then I have the right to, so it can hurt people.
Yeah.
But okay.
And, also, if you spread hatred, if you write Jews are terrible, they're evil, they've caused this and that, it's going to cause people to go out and kill Jews. The result is going to be real violence. If a respectable venue publishes something hateful about people.
So for example, a touchy subject, but Holocaust denial is free speech.
You're allowed to deny the Holocaust. Now, if I have a newspaper or a magazine and you want to write an article denying the Holocaust, I'm not required to publish it.
Of course.
Publish it yourself.
Okay. It's in the limits of the free speech.
I think it should be in the limits of free speech.
Okay. That's interesting.
It's going to hurt people's feelings, but you have to deal with it.
Of course. Of course. But a paper that would write you have to kill Jews or to hit homosexuals, this is not allowed.
Yeah, or if let's say I'm a respected personality, people look up to me and believe me, I'm a leader, meaning people follow me. If I say that group is evil, they're the representatives of the devil, people are going to go and kill them. I'm not allowed to say things like that.
Okay. And so I understand.
If I'm a crazy person, let's say I'm drunk and I go out at night, or I go in public, I'm saying the Jews are terrible and stuff, nobody's going to believe me, nobody's going to go kill Jews.
On the TV.
But if I'm a leader, if I'm a politician, if I'm a president, if I'm the head of a serious organization and I start spewing hate against a different group, I'm going to cause violence, real violence against that group.
Okay. To finish about you, all the people who learn this, we all experienced, it helped us in our real life. Not only it helps our clients or the kids, it helped us. Did it help you to learn to answer like that? Do you have you're not forced to tell stories, but did it happen that sometimes it helped you to know how to answer, that you were like angry or sad that someone hurting your feelings and you managed to answer like this? Did it help you in your real life?
It saved my marriage.
It saved your marriage?
My marriage in the beginning was terrible.
Okay.
My wife and I would be fighting all the time. I think I learned from my father to be passive aggressive. I would go for a week or two without saying a word to her. I was always angry at her. But after a few years of teaching this to kids, I said, maybe it works for marriage also. So I decided one day, I have to try this. I'm going to refuse to get angry at my wife no matter what she says or does. And it worked like magic. In a couple of days, things were better and they've stayed good. I'm not saying we never had a problem. We've had
some
problems,
situations are difficult to answer like this. It's not so
we had been
sometimes.
Contemplating divorce. We stopped contemplating divorce. We completely changed the relationship around.
And maybe last question. Now you live in Israel. You went back to Israel. Do you think that those ideas can apply to conflicts like the Middle East conflict? Can you imagine Israeli and Palestinians saying, "Are you mad at me?" It's
on an individual level, absolutely. In fact, I once gave a workshop. I've been involved in a grassroots peace group, between Arabs and Palestinians, and I gave a workshop on my method, and everybody liked it. The thing is, the conflict is much bigger than me and you, how we talk to each other. There's money involved. There's fighting over land. It's a much more complicated thing. But the thing is,
at the human level?
Let's say I'm Israel and you're the Palestinians. If I treat you like an enemy, you're going to treat me like an enemy. I can't treat you like an enemy and expect to have peace with you. I have to treat you like a friend. The thing is, it's not so obvious how to treat people like friends. We never learned this. So I think it can be taught, And it can work on a bigger scale, but I haven't succeeded in getting through to the big shots in government, to the people in power.
Okay.
If they'll ask me for help, I'll be very happy to give them my ideas.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Izzy, for
Okay,
answering
very
my
good.
questions.
Thank you for interviewing me. You have very good questions.
Thank you.